Donnie B got to be.
What's good, everybody? It's Donnie B got the beats, man. We are. Look, I'm excited, man. I'm kind of geeked out. I ain't gonna try to hold you. We are tuned in for the next episode of the Beat, season 6. Get ready to go into season 7. We're heading marching strong into 2023 as well as season 7, and I'm ever elated. Listen, this brother right now. We gonna get to that. You already know what time it is. It's time for the Glorious Intro. We just gonna go straight to it. Check this out. So listen, I say every time when we on the beat, I do my homework. I try to get the best talent, the people that have done. Like, you can Google these people and understand what they're about. They've added to the culture. They've lifted up the culture. They've been a part of something big. And I do that so that people like, regular people like me can get the hope and the purpose to become based off of the work that other people have done. You can hear it directly from their mouths. They contributed to the culture. Again, that's a big characteristic of people I look for. And I'm just so humble. So shout out to Jeff Kwan, BTP, man. I definitely, I wouldn't be able to do, we wouldn't have 6 seasons of the Beat without Jeff Kwan, but Jeff hit me up and gave me the opportunity to interview this brother. DJ Glenn Aure is one of the most spectacular people that ever came to the game. His humility will not let me just say it, and he'd be like, just take it. He's just gonna be like, nah, man, I'm just a regular person. But that's what's so dope about this, man. He's giving it. He was part of the KMEL guys. If anybody knows in hip hop culture, KMEL was like they were a staple to the culture, man. So he came through that whole line. And if I'm saying anything wrong, please correct me, DJ Aure. But I'm elated to have this brother on. I'm thankful to have this brother on. I got celebrity DJ and music industry professional DJ Glenn Aure. What's going on with you, brother? How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Donnie. Man, that's a glorious intro. Like I said, I'm just humble. I'm just blessed to do what I've been doing. So, we can get into it. I got to shout out Jeff, BTP Media Group. I also got to shout out my manager, Ty Tiger. She in the back. She's actually drinking a glass of wine, but we might have her come on a little later.
Hey, look, salute the real Tiger. Yee, baby. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what we doing. Again, humbled to have you on, brother. Listen. So what people may or may not know, Donnie B is a huge fan of the hip hop culture. Coming from the East Coast, the Northeast, man, the hip hop is everything. And if you ain't on that and have your thumb on the pulse of the hip hop culture, like, you're dead. Like, so coming out here to LA and being able to holler out with people like you, DJ Aure, I ain't got no words for it. Like, I'm just like, you talk about humble pie. I'm eating that, you know what I'm saying? So pleasure to have you on, brother.
Thank you.
We got AM Styles 247 says, hey, Ty Tiger, hey fam, I sent you a message on IG. We got the real Ty Tiger said, thank you, fam. She got it and made the edit. And then
shout out AM Styles. What's up? I see you, bro.
AM Styles, shout out. Thank you. And listen, let's preface this by saying, we got a legend here on the screen. Make sure you comment in the section. Let them know you're here, man. If you got words for this man, and keep them positive, ladies and gentlemen. I'll boot you off this joint if you come with the negativity, like ASAP. But let this brother know you here, that you support him. This man has done it for the culture, man. So I'm elated. Let's keep it moving, man. So DJ Aure, how you doing, bro? Like, seriously.
I'm doing good. You know, like I said, I know we talked earlier before the show started, but I'm just blessed to still be in this music industry. I know it's kind of all I know. You know, music is my life, so you know, I'm fortunate to be able to like take music and then make a career out of it, and you know, still doing what I love is, you know, basically music.
Right, right. And you know, reading your bio, doing my homework, yo, I know you've been there for a while, but we gonna get to that. I want to take it back to the beginning though. Let's go way back. So, and even you know what? Let's start. Let's start here. Okay. I want you to let everybody know, for those that may not be familiar with you or familiar with your brand or the work that you put in the countless hours, because I know they had to be countless hours. Just who is DJ Glenn Aure?
Well, let's see. Born and raised in the Bay Area, San Francisco. So I grew up city called Alameda, and I'm a youngest of six siblings. So growing up, I remember in the 70s, like my older brothers and sisters, they collected vinyl. So I was exposed to just the different, you know, from soul to pop to rock, you know, jazz music. So I was exposed to that type of genres early on, and I just love music as a little kid, you know. So then I remember around 12, you know, I think it was 83 or so. I was doing like, everybody was like recording tape mixes off the radio. So I remember like back then, but you know, hip hop wasn't on commercial radio. Like you had to listen to college radio for that stuff. So growing up in the Bay Area, there was a couple college radio stations. So, you know, during those late 80s, like African Bambaataa and, you know, the electro stuff, that was kind of the in thing at the time. We're doing our tape mixes, and I was doing the dancing, doing the beatbox, right?
Yeah.
But I think about 83, I think it was one of the shows that when Herbie Hancock did Rocket.
Oh yeah.
And Mixer DXD broke it down with the scratching. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And that's when I was like, that's what I want to learn how to do. So I remember we had like one turntable, and then like I remember my neighbor, he was kind of into it too. So we went to Radio Shack and we bought that. If you were a DJ, you probably bought one too. It was like this mixer from it was a realistic mixer from Radio Shack.
Yeah.
And pretty much if you're a DJ, that's the first mixer you ever bought.
Yeah.
It was like $69.99. We had like asked money from the parents just so we can get it. But then we took his turntable, my turntable, we put it together, and that was kind of the basis of how I learned how to DJ. Kind of self-taught as well. I didn't like, you know, no one taught me. It was just kind of, I guess I had a knack of like beats and like tempos or whatnot. So I took the records that I had initially and then kind of just, okay, that speed is kind of like this one. So I kind of learned how to, we call matching beats. And then from there, you know, like I was 12 when I just did that, and just essentially we ended up getting like real Technique 1200s. Like my neighbor's family parents were like, okay, they went and put it on credit, so we got two 1200s and a real mixer, and so we were kind of on our way, and you know, just doing like little house parties, you know, and then school dances like in my teens, and then that was, you know, that, and like I said, I was just loving music. So that's how I kind of initially learned the craft. And to me, I was just intrigued of like mixing and like just music in general, or just how to like really blend stuff and put songs together or whatnot. So I just really just try to perfect my craft early on, you know, just watching others. And then even in the Bay Area, we have some superstar DJs like that are, you know, world known, like DJ Q-Bird and Mix Mastermind, you know, Shortcut, D Styles. They were all from the Bay Area, so we all kind of came up together. So, you know, it was just raw and like just unfiltered, and we were doing, you know, stuff that like, you know, we didn't know, we were just making it up as we go, and then it was just like a big melting pot in the Bay Area. So and I did that like through my teenager years, and it wasn't until like after high school there was obviously we talked about KMEL. KMEL is a legendary station in the Bay Area. If you're from New York, obviously you know Hot 97. You're from DC, so PGC was like your station. You know, if you were in LA, like Power 106, The Beat. If you were in the early 90s, but KMEL was like a legendary station that like many came from. Swain Tech came from there. A lot of jocks like Theo Mizuhara, who came to LA, came from KMEL. Even big A&Rs who maybe people don't know. Like right now, my first PD that was my boss is Keith Naftali. He's the head of A&R at RCA Records. So a lot of the hits you hear from Chris Brown to Pink to he signed all those acts. Another one of my other, he did one of my PDs also did like A&R work at Def Jam. So it's just like KMEL was like a breeding pool of talent. So even after people left KMEL, they went on to do bigger things. For me, like I think it was 1991, they had a KMEL mixed master battle. The year prior, King Tech won it. That's how eventually the Wake Up Show came about, him and Sway. Then that year, I think we had to turn in tapes. So I was lucky enough to be one of the 5 finalists. And then it was one night we went to the nightclub, and the 5 finalists, we had like 15 minutes to do a set. And then, there was judges in the house, and fortunately for me, I won, so that kind of got my foot in the door for KMEL. Not only did I win 2 turntables, 2 1200s, they kind of gave me a little weekend slot on KMEL. So at first I was just, I was just happy to get my foot in the door. Like I'm hungry, I'm fresh out of high school. So I'm like, okay, I'll take a 1 hour slot on the weekend. So I took that, and I was just like, okay, it's 1 hour slot, but for me, I'm going to take that and like give it my all. And like, let me shout out Prince Ice. I see you in the chat. That's my brother. We worked together at KMEL, but like we were back to back. We're like Batman and Robin. He went on at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Then I followed up right behind him at 12 o'clock. But the beauty of KMEL, like if you do some of the history, like I know turntables and, now it's like, 2 records or whatnot. But back then we're really about production. And I think that was something great about the Bay, because some of the early DJs that we looked up to, like the Cameron Pauls, the Michael Ericksons, they were doing a lot of like editing work, like cutting tape or multi-tracking people. Like, so you hear like different layers of, might have like 5 songs going on at one time, so it takes time to do that, whether it's sampling or doing it together. So sometimes you might hear our mix on the weekend that's like 45, 50 minutes long, but like Ice and I, it would take us like maybe 20 hours to put it together, because it's all the time and effort, production wise. But that's what we did. And that's what made KMEL great, because it was just like, now, I'm not downing the way radio is now, but like now you just hear the same 5 records that the DJ play, like no creativity, it's just like, didn't I just hear that in rotation? And now the DJ got to play it. So I understand it's politics, whatnot, but back then we didn't have the politics like it is now. It was not cookie cutter of how iHeartRadio is or whatnot. Like back then it was like, we were all about finding the new music, or in the same time a friendly competition, like like me and Ice, like that's my brother, but like I would be listening to him, like I'm gonna see what he does, and then make sure that like my mix was just like up there too. Then he'd call me on Monday, dude, I heard your stuff. So it was kind of like pushing each other to be great, and that's what I love. And then eventually we had the crew of the DJs at KMEL. We call them the All-Star DJs. Shout out my man Alex Mejia. That should be another guy you end up interviewing down the road, but he was an architect putting us together. Like again, like early 90s, there wasn't many stations in the country that was playing hip hop. So like I said, like KMEL, Hot 97, PGC, where the Box in Houston were probably the few that were kind of tiptoeing with it. Most people were still playing pop music at the time, but we were like, nah, we're gonna try this hip hop stuff. So there was no blueprint. Now like all these stations are like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to play that. But back then it was like, we were learning as we go. So it was just like, even Mixshow, like there wasn't no Mixshow on radio, maybe like college radio, but commercial radio, that was kind of unheard of in the early 90s. So that's why it was great for us to do what we did, because we were mixing so much that it was, we were almost like stars as well. Like usually when you listen to the radio, it's about listening to the on-air jock or whatnot. But us as DJs, they were like, because we were in the clubs, playing all the music, breaking all the stuff. So, we were kind of like rock stars as well, so it was great. And for me, like that was my early years of the 90s. And then obviously everybody knows Sway and the Wake Up Show. So he had a spin-off show called the Wake Up Show, which was like Tuesdays and Thursdays. So he had asked me to be his DJ. So we did that Tuesdays and Thursdays, and same thing. It was just like a mini Wake Up Show where like we were just playing anything new. So if you had something new, we were just you know, the labels were sending to us. Sometimes we're getting tapes and DATs directly from artists so we can premiere it. So we did that for like 2 years, and eventually they asked Sway to do the morning show at KMEL. So then he's like, I want you to be my DJ. So he did 2 years of that. So then eventually around 96, 97, that's when he left to LA to eventually go to MTV. And at the time, I was promoted to be music director of the station. And then, so those of you who don't know, music director is the person who approves the music. So if you listen to a station and you hear what they play, you know, they don't just play whatever. So there's a hierarchy of it. So the music director is the one who like takes the meetings with the label. So every week I'm meeting with the labels or independent artists, and they're playing me their music, and then it's up to me if, you know, I like it or whatnot. And at the time, I'm using it's not just whatever. If I feel like I'm seeing like if there's phones on it, sales, just gut feeling. You know, since I was a DJ, I'm in the clubs. I'm thinking like, okay, this will work. So, but essentially, I was the gatekeeper to like say yay or nay. Like, okay, we're gonna put this in rotation. So, so yeah, I was part of some big records that, you know, like blow up. Or it's funny now that like the flavor of the month is all these throwback stations across the country. You know, #1 for throwbacks or hip hop or whatever, and you hear some of these songs that, you know, were big in the early 90s or whatever. And it's just funny to be like, wow, we were the ones who broke that record, or, you know, or we were part of helping break that. So it's funny how, like, you know, like to me, it's just like, wow, I guess I did my part. I helped pave the way for some of these records or whatnot or whatever. So like I said, I'm just humbled that I was on that journey to be part of some of the stuff that I had, you know. So, in a nutshell, that was my radio part. I've been a program director too in 98 as well. So program director is like the highest part of running a radio station. So at that point, you're running the station, overseeing every aspect of a radio station, from the on-air job to the music to station promotions to the way the music sounds, you know, approving sweepers and whatnot. So yeah, so basically it'd be like the president, and the music director would be like a vice president. So I held both titles in my final years there, like 98 to 2001.
Highly decorated. I had to just throw that out there just because it's highly decorated. To say that you did all of that is amazing. I kind of don't know where to start. So this is the first for me, and I've been doing this for 6 seasons. Let me take a step back. I'm gonna take a temporary, and my temporary shout out to the DJ Prince Ice. That's my brother too. Love that man.
Rich.
That's my guy. Hey, Rich, you already know what time it is, brother. DJ Glenn Aure, and I'm gonna just say DJ Aure. Look, you hit a lot of buttons. I'm a music connoisseur myself. I grew up in it. I was nurtured by it. Interesting to hear a lot of things that you said that resonated with me. I'm torn because I kind of want to diverge on a whole other path with questions, but I want to stick to the script. All right. But I'm going to do both, a little bit of both. Yep. I'm going to ask, because you mentioned about, you know, being a program director and so forth and so on. And then you also mentioned like you growing up and, you know, in a house and, you know, being accustomed to hearing a lot of, you know, records that were spun that kind of, you know, just kind of put you on a path inadvertently or maybe advertently, either or. What would you say is the flagship song that you say puts you on the course to be like, you know what? Like, this is my song. Even if you was like 5 years old, this is my song. Because I know what mine is. Mine was Every Breath You Take by Sting and the Police. And that song encapsulates, for whatever reason, encapsulates my youth. Every time I hear that song, I think about everything in that time that I heard it in the early 80s. And I was like, yo, I love music. Music is amazing. And then that made me pay attention to all of the other types of music out there. So what song was it for you that put you on your path?
I necessarily can't say there's like one song, but I mean, just music in general. Like I said, growing up, like I loved all the different genres of music. So like, you know, it could be like Chic Good Times. Like hearing my sisters and brothers play that, but then my other brother loved little bit of rock. So he played Asia, like Heat of the Moment, things like that. And I
Mm.
would listen to those songs and be like, I love this stuff. And then, you know, like I said, it's hearing some of the jazz records as well. Like, you know, I was like, wow, this is just great instrumentation, just real music. And then just that electro era, like, you know,
Mm.
I would say like that electro stuff really did it for me. Like, you know, the Planet Rocks, the African Bambadas, like,
I love that song too.
yeah, that era for me, I was still like, you know, young, and that was kind of right before I was like, okay, I want to learn how to do the DJ stuff. So I would probably say some of that stuff, but like I just love music in general. You know, I couldn't really say like one particular song did it for me.
You know, I'm glad you say that. Another one of my favorite, because I love Herbie Hancock as well. But one of the most iconic songs that I remember from and I'm sure everybody that is around in our age group will understand this. First of all, a shout out to Harold Faltermeyer, one of the most underrated and under the radar scorers of all time, and Axel F.
Yep.
Crazy, like to this day, crazy. You know, so I feel you, and I really feel DJ Precise.
Beach
Beach
Street.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, listen, we that man. Look. Anyway, sorry, I'm diverging, but I'm just hearing everything that you're saying. It's taking me to other places, and I love that. I love this conversation so far, but not to be swayed. We are already, you know, getting away from the norm. I want to ask you another step about you, because you gave so much information, and it's a blessing, and it's amazing about your path and your journey. But I want to take it a step further for people to get to know further who you are. You said you're from the meter, right? So growing up in the meter, what was it like for you to grow up in the meter? Like, what hurdles and obstacles did you have to overcome and to become to become the success that you are today?
Well, where I grew up on a small town called Alameda, which is really like a small island that neighbors Oakland and the East Bay. I think if you measured it like from one end to the other, it's only like 3 miles. So it's a real small town. I think for me growing up, obviously as you see, I'm my race is Filipino, 100% Filipino. So growing up in Alameda, there wasn't really many Asians. So I think the growing up as a little kid, you know, there may be some of that stereotyping, like, you know, getting a little picked on, or, you know, I didn't feel like I fit in because whatever, majority of whites or others. But you know, that was just what we grew up as. And like I said, as a young kid, I just was trying to play. Before I got into rhythm music, I rode my bike around Alameda and with my friend in the dirt fields. And now, like, now it's all developed, you know, like before it was like, you know, dirt land or whatnot. Now it's all high tech stuff like that. But I think that was a part of the challenge growing up in the small, and then even the high schools. I think at one point, there was 2 high schools. One was Alameda High, one was Ensenal. And, you know, at the time, like Alameda was more like, all right, you're white, you're going to go there. And then if you're non-white, you're going to go to Ensenal. So I think at the time, my older brothers and sisters, they always all of them went to Alameda High. So then when it was time for me to go to high school, I asked if I could go to Ensenal. It was funny, my next younger sister, she kind of hated on it. Nah, you're not going to go there. Because she was mad, like she had to go to. But I went to Ensenal, and it was a little more diverse there. I was like, oh wow, I see some other people like me, some other Filipinos and Asians, and it really felt better for me because it was almost like a little melting pot. So now, you know, it's not just one race or whatnot. You know, like it was just a mixture, and that's where everybody got along, and I really love that, and that's when I was already DJing it as well, and they were loving what I was doing. So it was just a good time, and I think that's what helped molded me, and I think that's what helped keep me grounded as well, just throughout life. Just like I said, I'm just kind of cool, laid back. You know, you might not know it, but I'm shy. You know, but, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. And so I gotta ask the question for you. You know, coming up in the meetup and going to the high school you went to, and like you said, you know 100% Filipino, but you are obviously someone well versed in the hip hop culture, right? And the tunes and the waves and everything that is for hip hop, which is obviously Black people try to claim it, right?
I mean,
how did that impact you as being a non-Black?
Yeah,
as somebody, you know what I mean? Like, and it was it initially met with headbutts? Was it real? You know what I mean? Like, you ain't in the culture, you don't know nothing about this. You know what I mean? For you to still be the legend that you are to this day, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had some of those setbacks, like, maybe not early on, like when I was, but when obviously growing up in the culture of hip hop, like, which, yeah, like you said, like, usually Asian, early on, like it wasn't an Asian thing. So, but to me, like, I'll just break it down, like, so simple, like it don't matter where you're from, it's where you're at. So like my mentality was like, music is universal. It don't matter what it is. Like I said, like I grew up listening to rock, jazz, funk, soul, and then finally those early electro hip hop stuff. So it was no color lines. And then I finally got to KMEL, and it was just like, one of our slogans early on was called "No color lines" at KMEL. So, we embraced that as well. Like we were trying to say, like, hip hop is for everybody. Like whether you're white, Black, Asian, whatever. Like music is universal, and I think we got that message early on at KMEL. And truth be told, KMEL, P1 is like basically who listens to your stations the most. Like our P1 listener for KMEL is African American female, 18 to 24. So that's what we're going after. So, and primarily, like if we did nightclubs and gigs, it's going to be like 80% African American. So it would be weird because early on, when I got to KMEL, oh, Glenn, we want you to do these clubs. I'm doing these clubs in Oakland, and then obviously, here I am, like probably the token Asian guy in like a 90% African American club, but it didn't matter because I'm rocking it. So like at first, people are like, kind of give me the weird look, like, who the fuck is this dude? But by the end of the night, they're coming up to me, like giving me my props, like, yo, man, like, like soul music better than like, and I always tell them, it's like, it don't matter like what color you are. It's like, it's what's inside of you. So, but yeah, there was some hating on obviously, or like what about hip hop, things like that. But like, that's why it was like fueled me to be inside, like, all right, work on my craft. Let my hands do the talking. Let my skills do the talking. So in the end, they may start like that, but in the end, they're like, I really can't say nothing about him because he's nice on the turntables or whatnot. And so, that's how I always looked at it. It's like, all right, well, you may look at me, don't, as I say, don't judge the book by its cover. So of course, I'm always going to get that like weird look up front, like, oh, who's this dude? But once I get on, then it's like, oh,
That's yeah. That's my favorite. That's my favorite. Like a sound that comes out of people's face when like when you present something to them. Oh yeah.
So in the chat, I'm gonna say my manager, Real Tight Tiger. So we just met like a year and a half ago, but she had moved to the Bay Area from Maryland in like '92. And she said she used to record my mixes off the radio on cassette tape, and then like like listening back on her Walkman when she's like doing whatever, working out, cleaning the house. And then it's funny how full circle, we met like a year and a half ago, became great friends, and like now she manages me. So it's kind of like you said, full circle, right? So.
Well, you had me at from Maryland. You had me at Tiger. You had me from Maryland because I'm from DC. So right there, PG County, amen. You know what I mean? But that that is what that is. But like I listen. I feel that, like you said, music is universal. Obviously, I work in Universal Music Group. That is one of the slogans that they identify with right now. Music is universal. And I think being privileged enough to have seen the evolution of hip hop from the African Bambaataa, the Cool Herc and the Herculoids to even fast forward to the DOS Effects and the Buckshot, the BDIMC, to fast forward to Puffy, and you know what I mean? Like, well, Puffy was, you know, you get it, you know what I mean? And to be able to see how it traverses, it's crazy. And I feel like it's almost at a disservice these days now, because it's kind of not what it's like. We did a lot of work, and we covered a lot of ground only to arrive at a destination where people don't care as much. Would you agree with that statement, or do you feel some sort of resonance to that, or do you think I'm wrong? Feel free.
I mean, I'm always gonna ride like that 90s. I was always gonna call the 90s as the golden era of hip hop. You know, even including that like late 80s when it really started, but like really that early 90s to the mid 90s. That I want to say that was kind of like how
Golden era.
Yeah, I call that the golden era of hip hop. Like, because that, especially even for radio, that's when it really broke. I mean, now you know you can be in any state and you can hear hip hop radio anywhere, but like I said, 91, 92, there wasn't hip hop radio across the country. You know, maybe the few stations that we name, Hot 97, ourselves, KMEL, even Power 106 in LA, they were a dance station in early 90s. They weren't even what they are now, you know. So it took time for that hip hop genre to develop. And, you know, not to toot our horn, but I will say that KMEL, Hot 97s, the PGCs, the Box and Houston's, we were those early stations that helped pave the way for what commercial radio hip hop stations are today. We were the blueprint for what they are now. Because I remember, you know, mid 90s, next thing you know, that's other stations surrounding the Bay Area. They started signing on and playing hip hop or whatnot. But that stemmed from what we were doing, to the point where, like, I went to Sacramento not knowing, and I was listening to the station up there. They straight bid all our shit. like we on Saturday, we call the thing, we call the Mixshow Club 106. You know, 106 KMEL was our frequency. So we just said, okay, let's call it Club 106, and let's bring like the club atmosphere to mixing on Saturday night. We'll start at 6 a.m. and go to 12-hour block. And then, you know, we just brought the club to radio. And I go to Sacramento, and they call themselves Club 102. You know, so, you know, just things like that. And then even fun fact, like, I know you've been around Summer Jam. Yeah. You've heard that at the Beat in LA, and you've probably you know, now that's a common coin phrase, Summer Jam concert. You know, KMEL was the first station to use that term, Summer Jam, 1988. Even before Hot 97 took it in like early 90s. So originated from KMEL. So when you hear Summer Jam concert around the country, usually by iHeart Station,
yeah,
that originated from KMEL back then.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. You know what I mean? But you know, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I knew 50% of what I believed, 25% of what I knew, until I met DJ Prince Ice. Not gonna lie. And so learned a lot about what I thought I knew in reverse to what the actual reality is of the lineage and the progression of hip hop, man. Like it's crazy to be out here and to be such a fan, and you think you have an understanding. And like even something like you said, Summer Jam, like up in the Northeast, it's like Summer Jam. Oh, that's NY. Like when you think it's Summer Jam, oh, that's NY. No. You know what I mean? And so to see it all, you know what I mean? Like my posse's on Broadway, like it's, you know, nasty, like it's crazy. And
they had their own subculture back then.
But that's what's crazy about it, and that's why I get so geeked when I have people like you on, who were right there, ground zero, when boom, this bomb dropped, and nobody knew what was happening, and now we 20 years, 30 years in the future, and it was like, yo, that bomb happened. Like that was like it was ridiculous. And to see the genius that nobody's gonna call it genius, but that's what it was, for you guys to formulate and create the format for modern radio. Honestly, that's really what it is, right? So to see all of the people and the players that was involved, and to know the names and see all of that's why I say legendary. You know, legendary, the DJ Glenn Aure, you know what I mean? Like the Grand Mixer GMS, the, you know, Nasty Nest, the, you know, like you said, Sway and Tech. Like you guys are legend. Like you literally changed the format, and what? You know, like it's amazing. it truly is amazing, and I'm in, I'm in awe. I get it for what it is because I understand how important it is for the culture, and I just really wish that the younger generation would understand that for hopes that they would give it back. You know what I mean? And keep the story going. Keep the story.
I think for us, like like the Sways and Tex and the Prince Ice and myself, Alex Mejia, like back then, it wasn't. We were developing it. Like I said, a commercial hip hop station was kind of unheard of. So when we got to KMEL, it was just like, how can even for Sway and Tech coming from college radio, it was almost like we want to take that rawness and hit real hip hop of college radio and bring it to like commercial radio, and they did. They revolutionized that stuff. That's why like it was just unheard of. Like when they were doing their wake up show, Prince Ice was a part of that. Being their DJ for many years as well. And there was some historic stuff that went down. Like if you were in this industry at that time, like everybody was like, oh, we got to be on the wake up show. So everybody and their mama, like from the start, from the Biggies to the Jay-Z's, to everybody, like had to do the wake up show. And then from there, like that was one part of the element we had at the station, like those specialty shows, like the Wake Up Show, Club 106 with us as DJs, and then us as a station, like early 90s, like, we hear I Got Five on it, the Loonies and the E40s, like they're just like normal records now, but we helped get those records signed. Like those were unsigned artists. I remember Alex and Mejia, Davey D, we met E40 in a park in Richmond, and I don't know if you remember, the song was Captain Save Him, though.
Of course.
Yeah. I want to be saved. He was like, we were chopping it up, and, he was already had his slang, he was like, yo, I'm finna get this deal with Jai, but right now I got this, this song called Captain Save Him, though. We were like, and he's like, here, I got a box of 30 pieces of vinyl. We're like, yo, give me that box. We took that box of vinyl back. We put 2 copies in each of the DJs' mail boxes, and then we had a meeting like, yo, let's blow this up. And then we were the first to play it, and it was unsigned too. Like he wasn't on Jive just yet, and we blew it up, and then obviously the other station played it too. So we helped catapult that, and the next thing you know, he gets a deal from Jive, and then he came out with Sprinkle Me, and but then the rest is history. Same thing with the Loonies. I Got Five on it. Like first they had the regular version, but my man Alex Mejia was just like smart enough to be like, you know what, let's make a remix. So then he called, 40. All the guys from the Bay who are on that remix.
Yeah.
I remember they went to the recording studio in Alameda, Michael Denn's studio, and then they did the I Got Five remix. And I remember there's footage. That's why I'm trying to get footage from Alex, but there's a video of the session. And then the part where like 40, he's like lit off. He's holding a gallon Carlos Rossi, wine in a wife beater and just wasted. Then he's doing his part. The Richie Rich does in this part, the famous line, "Where are you from?" And then, but we had that on video. We can't find it. But I mean, we were there. I mean, that's why I'm like, man. And then back then, there was no social media, and we didn't have camera phones. So if you were there, you knew the story, So that's the one thing I do regret, that I wish we did have some of the technologies. Imagine if we did have that video that we can upload and we can show the people, Or Sway and I we were the ones who had the last interview with Biggie before he got gunned down in LA. He was in San Francisco, and we were doing the morning show. And I remember, we held him for an hour, and, then to the point where finally it was like 10 o'clock, we signed off, and the label was mad because he was supposed to go to the other station, but we kept him, just some like warfare shit. But I remember I got off the air, and like we were talking with Biggie and C's, and we're just like, hey man, be safe out in LA. And he was like, yo, I'm gonna be good. And then he was like telling me like, yo, I'm gonna be back in 2 weeks, Glenn. Let's come back, let's go hang, and I think we slapped hands. I don't even think we took a picture. If it was someone like the label had like a Polaroid, not Polaroid, the little Kodak, ones, and then we slapped hands. And I remember later that night, Sway called me. He's like, yeah, you just here? I'm like, what? It's like, Biggie died. I'm like, what? We just saw this guy like 8 hours ago. You know what I mean?
How do you pick up the broken pieces from something like that? Because you benefit from being in a position or you know what I'm saying, in a position like you said, you broke records, because I can clearly remember the first time I heard Five on it. I know I was at Hampton University. I lost my shit. I didn't want to lie to you. And to be able to be in a space where you breaking these records, you in touch with these people, that people like myself in my younger years, I'm looking up like, oh my, like, how do I touch that star, right? And then you know what I'm saying, like, you got Biggie in your studio. Obviously, everybody knew what they had with Biggie. Everybody, you know what I mean? And how do you pick up the broken pieces when, like you said, you feel that you were the last people, you know what I'm saying, like to you know, like you said, to slap hands with him, and then next thing you know, he out there in LA, and then, you know, unfortunately, especially in this climate with all of the stuff that's going on these days, how would you suggest people, you know, like, how do you go about that? What is that like?
I mean, it was obviously eerie. We were shook. You know, it's essentially like, I know in the next couple of days, I think it happened on a Friday, so we weren't back on the radio until Monday. So obviously, when Sway got on the air Monday, you know, obviously it was like a big tribute. Obviously, as a radio station, you play the music, and you know, just obviously, I think we were just having people call in, tell what they feel, help grieve. You know, as a radio station, you have to be there for the audience. So sometimes these listeners or fans get hit hard. So we just, at the time, I was like, okay, let's allow our station to be, you know, that person to lean on. So like, whether, you know, like the station. So yeah, I think all weekend long people were just calling in, like, you know, devastated, shook, you know, saying their condolences or whatnot. But I think that was one thing about the Bay. Biggie's an East Coast artist, but the one thing that I loved about the Bay Area, we were open to everything. It wasn't just like, yeah, we rode hard for like our local acts, West Coast stuff, but then we also played, you know, stuff that was hitting in LA, but then also East Coast stuff, you know, big East Coast stuff. Like I remember playing MOP, Annie Up, on our station.
Crazy.
6 o'clock in the morning to start up the morning show. Imagine 6 o'clock, you know, Annie Up, you know, Sway would be like, you know, let's start it, you know, but that was the type of station we would play. And then when the South stuff started breaking, like we were the first to jump on all that Juvenile, Back That Ass stuff, all that Cash Money stuff.
Yeah.
We were first to play that stuff, like, you know, in the Bay, that within, you know, broke. I remember I got flack from Master P. Master P was originally from the Bay, and then remember he moved to New Orleans and really blew up the No Limit stuff. And it was kind of the same time the Cash Money stuff. So funny story, I'll put it out there, but you know, P didn't really have the records that fit our station, so we didn't play a lot of it. So of course, you know, he felt slighted that he was from the Bay. So I think one time but the Cash Money stuff was really blowing up big, and he was signed to Priority Records. And then I remember the label was like, "Yo, P's on a plane. He's coming to see you." I was like, all right, you know what I mean? So he wanted to see you, and at the time we had like another like overseer above me. I tried to call him because he was in a different. They're like, "Oh, he left for the day." I was like, "Oh, ain't that a bitch?" So then 5 o'clock comes. Then like my friend flew from LA as well. P's like, they're like, "Yo, P's here." And then, he walks with his two bodyguards, and it's funny. Like, I'm like, "Yo, what's up, P?" Like, "Yo, let me holler at you." And then I was like, "Let's go to my office." And then then the rep was following us, and we walked through the door, and then the two bodyguards stand at my door. I walk through. Pete comes, and then the label rep was trying to go through. Bodyguards both went like that and then shoved, and then didn't let him in. And then Pete just like closed the door, and then we had a shouting match. You know, he was mad about like we're not supporting, like, whatever, this and that. But you know, I had to give him real facts. Like, you know, end of the day, like, it's nothing against you or whatnot. It's you know, I got to play what my listeners want. I even showed them the metrics. I'm like, look at my requests. And at the time, like the number one most request was like, back that thing up. You know, it's like, why? You know. But then it was funny because I was like, well, you know, what do you want to do? Then, you know, I had to talk him off the ledge a little bit, you know. But I said, you got new music? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, let's go. So then I was cool enough to be like, I walked him in the studio, 6 o'clock, and I was like, just drop format. Like we got Master P in the house, and it became Master P Radio for like an hour. We let him play like his album, let him talk to, and then after that he was cool, And then eventually one of the songs was something we can play. So, and ironically, I know we've been talking about my radio stuff. I left KMEL in 2001 to then work for Priority Capital Records at the time. So eventually I moved to LA in 2001. And like, I think my first week at Capitol, I'm in my office, and then P walks through the office, and then he passes me, but then he had to take a double look, and he walks back. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I work here now. So I'll be working your record. So you better be nice to me." Then he just started laughing. But yeah, we were cool after that.
That's a great story, and you know what? And I'm glad you said that, because it's a great segue and transition into the latter half, right? What would you say defines music industry professionalism? Considering that, okay, let me put this in context. I started off as a recording artist and a music producer. I didn't have no plugs. I just tried to figure it out and finagle my way through, trying to find myself, find my sound, find my brand, find the listeners, find the, what I'm saying? It's just everything. When you start out, you have these delusions of grandeur. You really try to figure these things out, right? And then through my journeys, I arrive at a destination that I kind of juggle with. And the fact of the matter is that, like you said, you found success in a space that most of us would look at and say, holy shit, this is where this is it. But not everybody knows how to land there. But you landed it, you killed it. And then, like you said, you rose, you built a paradigm out of it, and then left, and then went to another side of it that a lot of other people would love to be in that scenario. So what is it like to transition from coined, and this is my air quote, so don't cancel me for it, but from street side to professional side, when you talk about you are a music industry professional?
I mean, again, like I said, I'm just humbled, and I'm fortunate. Like, again, like everybody loves and dreams. It's almost like I always take it like the sports analogy. Like, everybody wants to make NBA or football or whatever, but
right.
Like not. There's only a certain percentage that gets to go on to the next level. So it's almost same thing with radio. Like whether you're on air jock or a DJ, sometimes you right time, right place. So for me, the catalyst for me was like winning that DJ battle. Like if I didn't win that DJ battle, who knows? Maybe I've never got on KMEL, even with the talent that I did have at the time. So for me, like, and I always did this growing up, I was always said like, be a sponge, just learn and be better. So for me, even like DJing, like I always told myself, you're never gonna master it. You always, even when you're good, you still can learn. So that's why I always push myself to practice, whatnot. And then when I got into production, multi-track work, things like that, I had to learn that aspect. Then this, learning how to play on a drum machine, samplers, all that. So that was my early career. When I got to KMEL, like, yeah, I was just happy to have my foot in the door. And then I don't know, like most people who know Filipino culture, like, we joke about it, but like your parents always want you to always be the best. So go to college, or they want you to become a nurse or a doctor, or, something that's like the running joke, like, coming from a Filipino household. And I remember getting on a KMEL. They don't realize what KMEL is, a radio station, or I'm DJing. So, and at the time I'm supposed to be going to college. And so, you got the parents, why aren't you going to school, whatnot? And then initially on, I was getting paid from KMEL, like those early, like that first year was just, you just do the work, but they didn't understand that, like, well, number one, this is a legendary station, and I'm in it. So for me, I was like, I'm not giving that up. So for me, I was just like, I'm going to do my best to like, make sure like my 1 hour mix just kills it, so people know my brand. And then at the same time, I'm going to be a sponge and learn more than the DJ stuff. Cause I wanted to be like, well, I want to learn how the station works. I want to one day become a music director. I was fascinated with with all the programming stuff, the behind the scenes stuff of the radio station. And then it was funny because at first, you know, the parents were like on them, like, you know, they're taking advantage of you and all that stuff until finally, you know, next thing you know, when I'm on Monday through Friday, you know, at 5 o'clock, prime time. And then I have the cut, and then the funk family function gatherings, like the cousins or people that haven't seen, like my parents. Oh, we hear Glenn on the radio. Oh my God, it's so great. And then of course my mom, oh yeah, that's my son, you know, just like total, like, you know, yeah, really? Like, you didn't even want me to do this, but you know, they got it, you know, but like I said, that's what helped my career at KMEL, like those 10 years from 1991 to 2001. It's like, yeah, I started off as a DJ, but like I wanted to, you know, go up the ladder. So from that first 1 hour to then becoming on Monday to Friday at 5, and then doing the wake up show with not wake up show, the 10 o'clock bomb with Sway, to then doing morning show with him for like 2.5 years, to then becoming music director, and then music director to finally getting that, all right, we're gonna name you program director. So that was kind of my journey, that those 10 years there. And you know, I could have wrote it out, but at the time, 2001, we all know iHeartMedia. At the time, they were called Clear Channel. So it started getting a little politics at the time, and it started really getting no fun. Like I was going to work, but I really felt like, you know, I felt that my time has come. And at the time, Priority asked me if I wanted to come to LA to do the record side of things. And for me, I was like, okay, that's something, you know, I've never done, but you know, like obviously I've 10 years of being on the other side, all the labels coming to me and promoting their stuff. So it's just like, all right, now I'm just flip-flopping. And that's what happened. Essentially went to Capitol, and I think that's what helped, because when I started to then now becoming the one person that labels were coming to me asking, you know, feedback on their record or what song they should release or whatnot. Now I'm at the mercy of whatever Capitol Records was putting out. And I have to admit, the first 2 years of Capitol Records, 2001 to 2003, a lot of stiffs. So I kind of hated it, because then I would have to go travel across the country to all these radio stations. And this, you know, at first, just learning, you know, meeting these new people. So, you know, you're not really like, you know, friends yet, you know, just more on a business level. But then here I am trying, hey, what do you think of this record? Whatnot. And a lot of like, oh, this shit sucks. No, not gonna get it. But I kept, you know, you keep at it, and then eventually, like, you start building real relationships with these people you talk to like weekly, to the point where like now they become like your good friends. So then to the point where a lot of these guys are now like 20 plus 25-year friends that I still have today, that like either if they're still in radio and I'm working a project, I'll call them and we'll talk a half hour about life, whatever. And then finally, like the last 2 minutes, hey, did you get that record I sent you? You know, so it's not all about business. It's all about, you know, it's all about relationships and stuff like that too.
And that's been my experience. It's been all about relationships, and who you know. And then, and speaking with the, I mean, I know you've dealt with a lot of celebrities in the game, and your whole trajectory from Master P and the whole nine. I know specifically you've had a lot of work to do with a lot of artists, but I know specifically there was Ice Cube, say Lauryn Hill, like you talk about your dealings with, you know, these, you know, because I know you have a trajectory with a lot of great artists, right? And I know specifically, as far as I'm concerned, Lauryn Hill is still the greatest female MC that there is. I'm sorry, I know I'll probably get canceled. You know, no disrespect to like Light and but you know, but L Boogie is just L Boogie. Like, it's just L Boogie.
Unique artist. Two. So, you know, I have some memorable memories or things that's crossed my career, but two in particular. I know you touched on Ice Cube. So I was still a young buck. I think it was like 93, 94. So maybe like 21 at the time. Ice Cube was doing the bootleg and B-sides album, and I got a call from Priority Records, and at the time I was just still mixing at the station, and they said that Ice Cube wants to put a mega mix as a track on his album. And they're like, I guess they picked a few people. It was us, me. I heard it was Baker Boys and one more person. So 3 of us were. They basically said, okay, you have 2 days to put something together and submit. And that back then there was no email. So, and then we were doing our records, you know, there was no MP, there was no Serato, all that stuff, digital stuff. At the time, I still had an 8-track, 1/2-inch reel to reel. And then I had like an ASR 10 sampler, and small mixer board, and then records. So then I put together and then, so basically they said, he's going to come to Priority on Thursday, and he's going to listen to them all and pick one. So this is Monday. So then basically Monday to Tuesday, I think I was like a vampire. I didn't go to sleep. So I just took all the Ice Cube records I had and then try to, you know, record like, you know, onto records onto an 8-track, sample this. And remember, mega mix. So you got to like compile it all in like, you know, they're like, we want it about 4.5 minutes long. So as much as IQ, so, you know, just imagine just the creativity part of it, just trying to think of it. And I don't like that going back. So really, I was like up for like 48 hours. I don't think I slept or nothing. Finished it off, you know, then I put it on a DAT. Wednesday, we'll go FedEx it. They get it Thursday. And then I think in the afternoon, I get a call from my guy and was like, yo, Cube, listen to all the mega mixes. And he picked yours. I'm like, what? I was just like geeked. I was like, no shit. He's like, yeah. So it's going to make the album. I was like, oh, fuck. You know, and then, you know, and at the time, I'm like, I was just happy. It's like, all right. And, you know, they pay me for it. But in hindsight, I could have probably like negotiated a little bit more because end of the day, it went gold. It sold over 500,000 copies. And, you know, just to see your name in the credits, that was like, you know, I remember showing that to my mom and, you know, her being so proud or whatnot. I'm like, see, this is why it paid off for me to be at KMEL, you know, and then she got it, you know, so that was one of the, you know, early on, that was, you know, that was just one of those like, oh, wow. And I remember getting the check in the mail. It was like Lynch Mob Records, and it was signed by O'Shea Jackson. And I remember like photocopying it. I was like, I was going to frame it. I misplaced it or whatnot. So.
Right.
But then the next one was the Lauryn Hill story. As you know, I think everybody knows the song Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, like that broke in the 90s. So essentially, the story is that wasn't on her album. So what had happened, it was like there was a movie with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts, Conspiracy Theory, whatever. I was at the movie theaters watching it, and then at the end, as the credits were, I was just kicking it. Credits are rolling, but like deep in the credits, like by that time you've already left, you know. So I was just kind of chilling, and then all of a sudden I get up, I'm about to walk out. I hear the song come on. I was like, what the fuck? Hey, is that Lauryn Hill? And I was like, oh shit, I need to get this on KMEL, right? So at the time, like, well, how the fuck am I gonna get this? You know, they didn't have soundtracks back then. This whatever, I think it was 94 or whatever it was. So in my mind, you know, it's like, I'm gonna wait for it to get on, you know, VHS, Blockbuster. Because, you know, movies always took 3 months to finally get to Blockbuster. So I kept that in my back pocket for 3 months. And then I would go to Blockbuster, you know, after that second month, go every week, and boom, sure enough, it's out. And then back then it was even DVD, VHS still. VHS. I took that VHS home, I put it in the VCR, I ran the VCR RCA outs right into my mixer board, EQ'd it best as I can, and then put it on a DAT. I brought it to the station, then we recompressed it, we recorded it again, then we put the station sweepers, like back then we had the KMEL, because our rival station was wild. So I'm like, because if I play this, they'll record it off our station and say they have it. Because I knew I was sitting on something that no one has. Right. So we put those sweepers every like 20, 30 seconds. So then there's no way they could like, you know, say that they had it. So then the next morning I tell Sway, we about to world premiere this Lauryn Hill song, and you're going to say she gave it to us. And sure enough, we talk it up. You know, Sway's like, yo, we got this from Lauryn Hill. We play it, phones through the roof, #1 phones. And then so we just run with it. And then, of course, after I get off the air, I get a call from the label, you know, because, of course, the other station probably called, like, why does KMEL have a Lauryn Hill song that we don't have? And then, of course, they're like, oh, well, no, you're not supposed to have that. And like, where did you get it? You know, because they didn't know.
Right.
Like, don't worry about it. I got it. We got it from Lauren. Well, you're not supposed to be playing it. I'm like, whatever. So then we just kept playing it every day, to the part like we started playing. Like, and Wild didn't even have it. It took about almost a month for like the label to figure it out, and even Wild. So for here I am, like 3 weeks, and then it was written up in like the trade magazines, like KMEL is playing this one song by Lauryn Hill, Can't Take My Eyes Off. So and it was just buzzing, and then people were trying to interview me, like, where'd you get it? And I just kept my mouth shut. We got it from Lauren, So, but then at that time, it just really blew up, and then to the point finally, the label found out, because they even sent me a cease and desist letter, like 2 weeks in. And if you don't know what a C&D letter is, like basically they're going to sue you for whatever you're doing. So they're trying to say they were going to sue us for playing an unauthorized, song from Lauryn Hill, because they were telling me that like she didn't like the record, that's why it didn't make the album. So like, well, whatever, it's #1 phones for me. So I'm playing what my listeners want to play. So eventually the label finds out. Then they release it to Wild. Then next thing you know, Wild's on there, brand new Lauryn Hill. Like after a month, we've been playing it like, every day. And
right.
then they send it out to the rest of the country. So the next thing you know, all the stations that were like, oh, we get this song, they put it in the rotation as well. So then it blew the song up, which then forced Columbia to add it on the CD. Because the first 500,000 copies of that album didn't have it on there. But because we blew up that song, they had to strip it in as a bonus track. So if you buy that CD today, it's a bonus track at the end of the album, because they had to go back and put it in there. So I guess I was responsible for that.
I would agree. And that, listen, and honestly, that is one of the more memorable songs of that era, as far as I'm concerned. Period.
And then the great story to end that story is like 6 months later, she does her Miseducation Lauryn Hill tour. They get to the Bay Area, and then I go to the show, and then the label takes me backstage, and it's like, oh, we want you to meet Lauren. So I'm like, okay, cool. Just a little quick picture or whatever. And all of a sudden we're waiting. Lauren comes out, and then the label connect was like, hey, Lauren, come here. I want you to meet somebody. This is Glenn. This is the guy that leaked that Can't Take My Eyes Off You, because supposedly the story was she didn't like it. And I was like, oh, fuck, why would you say that? And then she comes up, and then she kind of gives me this look. But then she smiles, and then she puts her arms around me. She hugs me, and she pulls me in tight. It's like, thank you for doing that. And that was just like so gratifying. She's like, she was like, I didn't believe in that record when I recorded it. That's why I didn't make the album. But I gave it to put on that one soundtrack. I was like, no. I said, and I told her the story. It's like, I was in the movie theater, and I was walking out, and I heard it come on. And I said, I have to get this. If I could have got it that day in my hand, I would have drove straight to the station to put it on. That's how much I needed that. And I was telling her that. And I said, I had to wait 3 months for it to come. And she laughed, like, what? You took it off VHS? I'm like, yeah. And I was like, the rest is history. And then it's like it's 8 million, over 8 million worldwide sold US, and then over 10 million worldwide sales. So she's already got a diamond record. So, and then, so we got to show, we actually moved it into the office, but maybe we should show you. Oh, you don't want to pull it out? Too hard? It's too hard? Okay. I was presented a plaque for that. So, you can see it on my IG. We've posted that there, but yeah, that was like, again, full circle to finally get a plaque, to commemorate her sales. So that was just like full circle for me. But yeah, one of my memorable stories I had. But again, like I said, I've been privileged to be meeting a lot of these icons that we call today. Like I remember, sitting across from like the Jay-Z's of the world, Beyonce, Destiny's Child, when they first had like No, like when they were 17-year-old, playing that for me, sitting there, even like Britney Spears, who I didn't play pop music, but I remember at the time Jai was like, we want to bring you somebody we think who's going to be big, but it's not for you, but we just want to share it. And I remember walking in to the meeting, and then it was like Britney Spears, 16 years old, and that, you know, mini skirt, you know, the whatever.
Yeah, the little
Lady back, and then they were like, Glenn Aure, this is Britney Spears, you know, and then they play the record. I'm like, you know, it's not for us because we're a hip hop station, but that is a smash. And then, you know, to see like people like that catapult to, you know, big legends, and then obviously the hip hop legends that we had, you know, having Nas first time in San Francisco, you know, when he had It Ain't Hard to Tell. I remember it was, people wanted to meet him, like E40, all the local acts came to KMEL just because they wanted to meet him, you know, at the time. And it was just so great how to see like how the culture has evolved, and you know, now those guys are living legends today. But I tell like some of the stories, and people now, like some people don't realize that, you know, I was fortunate to be around this era, so I just say like I got to live it. And to me at the time, I was really just doing what I love to do, was really mixing and my love of music. And then obviously when I got to programming, running a station. So for me, I just felt like I was doing my part, just initially just for the Bay Area. Like, let me just pave the way for the Bay Area, you know, for the next round of younger DJs that are going to like pick up the craft. Like I'm humbled, like today, like I stream on Twitch and DJ there. And then like, people that, you know, who hit me on and say that like, oh, I grew up listening to you, or you inspired me to DJ, or like you were one of my heroes. So like I was like humble, like, wow, really? Like, you know, I made an impact like that on your life. So, you know, or even Ty Tiger, my manager's house, she said like she legit would listen to me and record my mixes, or like knew when I was on. So be in the car and wouldn't get out of the car until like my mix was over. So I mean, that was really humbling. Like I was like, wow, you know. So, like I said, but again, like I was never big headed, or you know, I was just like, I just wanted to do my craft, and you know, if I was involved with something historic, then so be it. But like, you know, I was never out for the fame or the glory. You know, I was just out for just the love of music, plain and simple.
But I think the thing is that we have to understand what it is. I think that you did it for the culture. You did it what you felt, and you were authentic about your belief in the music at the time. And I feel like that's the biggest dichotomy between yesterday's music industry and today's music industry, where the DJ didn't put themselves in front of the music. Back then, it was like, at the end of the day, I found this. Y'all need to check this out. This is dope. And it was like, you guys are the gatekeepers. Now it's just like everybody's a DJ. Everybody got Serato. Everybody's like, oh, okay, I'm going to be a DJ. And they try to be bigger than the music. And
I get it. Yeah, I mean, not knocking, like, I guess you know, two sides of the coin, like the purists that we are, of course, you know, we're going to be like, well, damn, we played off records. Like we were really doing it, you know, like now it's easy for someone to get a, you know, hard drive and get 1 million songs in it and then say they're a DJ. You had to go and buy records back then. I had to buy records.
Sure.
You know? Yeah. Before I got to KMEL and was, you know, got on the labels mailing list. Like I remember when I got on the mailing list with the labels, when I got to KMEL, I was like, man, that was the greatest thing ever. What? I don't got to buy records no more. It just gets shipped and mailed to me, you know? And I'm just like, you know, I was just so thrilled. But before that, you got to go and like, you know, how they say, you know, digging in the crates, you know, you need that, you know, and build up your library. Like I didn't have the, you know, the funk records because I was young. So I had to go and buy those 12 inches or whatnot. So now it's easy to just have like a MP3 of it. Again, I'm not knocking technology, but I think, I think, you know, it's good to learn from the past. Like obviously these new bucks our DJs are on some talent levels as well. And they're taking music and some of the tricks and the technology aspect of some of the tools that we have with the mixers, the controllers to another level. But like, go back and learn the past, the DJs before you and how they did it. Like, you know, hey, it's 50 years of hip hop. You know, we just did it at the Grammys. So for us to be here sitting today, 50 years later, like it had to start somewhere. So all those pioneers before us, like that I looked up to, who paved the way for myself, for me to then like I was in it, and then hopefully I paved the way for the next generation That's how I look at it. So these new generation of DJs, yeah, take it as far as you can go, but then at the same time, build for the future. So this DJ culture lives on forever.
Well, that's what it's all about. It's about the DJ culture living forever. It's about music living on forever. That's what we all do it for, right? So that we all can live together and you know, like really just because the culture is big, right? And at the end of the day, we all just components and pieces to it. You know what I mean? But it takes people that are fearless and have a different understanding about what it is that they're seeing. And you were one of those people. You know what I mean? Like you said, the Break the Lauryn Hill record. I remember when that came out, and I was like, hey, "Yo, that's a crazy record." You know what I mean? And the fact of the matter, for anybody to second guess that is crazy, looking back on it. But that you were fearless enough to be able to call it, grab it, rip it, put it out, cease and desist letters, and you still did it. And it was like because people need to hear this.
Yeah, and that's what I said. That's what I told Lauren. I said, when I heard it, I said to myself, people need to hear this. And, you know, it could have been anybody, but it was just, I was just smart enough to be like, heard it, and was just like, once I can get my hands on this, I know that this will blow up once I get this on there at KMEL. So it was just a waiting game for me. So I already knew it. I heard it. So it was, yeah, but, you know, if someone was smart enough to do what I did, it could have happened, you know, but, you know, fortunately, I guess, you know, I was smart enough to do it.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. There are a lot of measures that say that you were right. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, and I think that is also the takeaway that a lot of people don't understand. It's like, you know, I jokingly say this as a music producer, there was a piccolo guy back in the day. Not a producer that was like, okay, he played piccolo on like a synthesizer. Like, no, there was an actual guy. Look, I need to have that guy because he played the shit out of that piccolo there. You know what I mean? There was a lot more of attention to detail when it comes to music. And now there's a lot of people that could do a lot of things just singularly. And I don't want to say it's damaging. Music is art, and art propels all cultures. But I don't know. It's just something there. You know what I mean? And to be able to be somebody that to recognize the talent, there has to be somebody at the end of the you know what I mean? Like there has to be somebody there to be able to catch the ball. If that makes sense. Yeah. And I think
you just have to embrace where the music is going. Like, yeah, maybe we may not like how it sounds, or it's a different type of feel than what we're normally used to, but you have to embrace it. And especially as a DJ, because at the end of the day, like, I still play on some of the radio stations. I have a syndicated weekly show. So, you know, you have to play to the masses, even though like maybe the politics are different. It's, you know, it's not how we were playing at KMEL in the 90s. Like now, like, yeah, you're constricted to like, okay, you know, you're playing these records. Like, you know, some of the stations I do play with, we get a weekly list. Like they're, you know, we're almost like robot mixers. They're telling us, okay, we want you to play these records in your hour. So it's like, well, isn't the DJ supposed to like dictate that? But you know, it's the business side of what it has become. And, you know, it is what it is. So again, it's a job, you know, so that's what you do. If you don't like it, then you don't have to do it. So, you know, so I tolerate it. But again, like to me, I just try to embrace it all. Like I may not like everything, but I like the new stuff as well. And at the same time, I know the younger kids, like, you know, I use like my kids as the measuring stick. Like, my kids don't even listen to like FM radio. They listen to Spotify or, you know, whatever things on their phone. But that's the new generation, you know, everything on the phone, whatnot. So you have to embrace that, because if you're too scared to embrace technology and where it's going, then you're going to get left behind. Like even Serato, I had Serato, but I didn't even, I had Serato just to have it, but I wasn't really messing around on it. And for a while, I wasn't even DJing. Like I really just kind of like started getting back into DJing about 2015. Because when I got to Capitol, I was just so busy being on the road. So, you know, just the turntables and equipment was just in storage. And, but, you know, I always had the itch, or, you know, if you see turntables, you know, you never forget. You know, it's like riding a bike. But I wasn't actively like, you know, collecting, you know, like, MP3s and loading up my Serato library. You know,
right.
But around 2015, that's when I was like, oh, because one of the station asked me, hey, you want to do a, like a weekly mix show slot? I'm like, I'll try it out, and then from there, it was just like, okay, I started doing that. Then I got another station and whatnot. Then it forced me like, okay, I got to start building the Serato library. So I had to kind of go back and like, but obviously it's easier now, just off MP3s. You go to some of these record pools, whatnot. But what was cool for me, like, I used to collect, I was like a digging in the crate type of guy, original samples and break beats, things like that. That was kind of like my undercover, like, not hobby, but like my guilty pleasure, as you say. I was one of those guys buying those records, or sometimes if I had, that was the 90s, so it was all about the samples or whatnot. So
still is
if I found that original and it was like $100 record, I was paying $100 because I had to have it. That was like my guilty pleasures. I was just like, I got to have it, so I was building that collection. So what had happened around I was like, well, had like a storage full of units, records, like thousands of these records. So I think it was like 2 years. I would just like start ripping them, the original vinyl, not a rip or nothing. Like I would off the vinyl, record my own MP3, and then I would put in my Serato. I still haven't done them all, but I have like a nice collection now. So it was great because then I could actually start playing and messing around with it on Serato, which kind of gave me my own like a little flair on Serato. Like everybody's playing records or whatnot, but then now I can actually educate. Now I can be like, oh, you hear that record right there? This is where they got it from. Drop in like the original, and people are like, what? Or then do some stuff about it. So then, then I'm always not only playing, but I'm just kind of teaching as well. So that's how I kind of look at it. At the same time, we couldn't do that on radio. So just doing something that like I always wish I could do, but now I have the platform to do it, like on Twitch, or like wherever. So that's what keeps me. That's my like little escape from the work aspect that I deal with weekly.
Well, again, everything that you've mentioned tonight has been unprecedented, and it's unprecedented with regard to your story. And I don't want to say that to close it off and narrow it. I want to say it to a perspective of we all have. If you were born, between, well, I was born in 77, between 77 and 83, I think you have an understanding about the growth of the culture. If you say the culture, I think we all kind of understand what we're talking about, right? If I say ColecoVision, what does that mean to certain people? If you don't get what ColecoVision is, we can't have that conversation, right?
Nope.
So, even Atari, and the difference between the 2600 and the 2800, like, you can't have that conversation with everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel that when we're talking about the culture of hip hop, now we're talking about the legs and the just the lineage of just the KMEL scenario and how attached and how like I look at it as that old tree. And I'm sorry because I'm about to get canceled for this, but the old spiritual tree, you know what I'm saying? If you talk about the old South, you talk about that tree that you go, you know what I'm saying? Everybody know that tree. You go to the tree, it's got a story because people used to get whoopers on that tree. But it's the tree. I feel hip hop is that tree. And I feel KMEL has a lot to do with that tree. And honestly, like I said, to be fair, going back to the Prince Ice, because again, I heard of KMEL. I like, you don't understand how far back I go hip hop wise, right? But I look at it also from a perspective of what's true, because I'm a very truth-based person. You guys did a lot for the culture. All of you guys. You evolved. Like you said, you were a person that was signing off on the direction, the narrative of the way that the story is going to be told for the culture to help to shape the culture, brother. Like I that's why I said I'm geeked to tell your story, because your story is amazing. everything that you saying, everything that you shared, everything that all your peers at KMEL, you guys are part of history. You know what I mean? And like talking, like I said, talking to DJ Prince Ice is like, you know, say like, yeah, man, like we did the, you know what I'm saying? We part of the people that helped to shape modern radio format. Yes. That is 100% accurate. Based off of everything I remember, based off of everything that I've read and everything I've seen. So I'm just saying all that to say sorry if I'm you know what's the word I'm looking for? If I'm talking too much, let me just go ahead and
no, man.
But I feel people need to understand that these are all, as Jeff Kwan say, facts. And these are all things that people need to understand. Just because people always think about football or basketball, greatest of all time. You want to have the greatest of all time conversation. Oh, everybody has it. No, listen, you can't say that it's this without mentioning this.
Yeah. It's also fine, you know, but like I said, hip hop, how we just celebrating 50 years. But like I said, they commercialize the stuff now. You know, iHeartRadio, celebrating 50 years of hip hop. Those early years of me at KMEL, they didn't give a rat's ass. Like good story. Like it was at that time, like 94, whatever, when Lauryn Hill came out. So we were Clear Channel. Clear Channel is based out of Dallas.
Yep.
We're San Francisco Bay Area. So our slogan at KMEL was jamming the most hip hop and R&B. I mean, you know, if it's KMEL, we're a street urban station, right? And we were, that was our slogan, you know, since the inception of KMEL. So that was our identity. You listen to KMEL, that's what you knew you got, right? So about 94, corporate emails us, you need to change your slogan. That's just like basically, in a like a better term. They didn't say it, but like basically it sounds too ghetto, too street. You need to go with something like, you know, they said something like KMEL playing today's hits, you know, something like a hot AC station, like something so safe and like so whack. And I remember, but they were like, nah, that's what you should do. And I remember like talking to my PD, I was like, hell no, we can't say like KMEL playing today's hits and whatever favorite songs. Like that sounds so dumb, you know? So then I remember I went to lunch, right? And I went to the grocery store to buy, you know, grab a sandwich, and then I'm at the checkout stand, and then, you know, remember like Time magazines and all that stuff. Time magazine picture Lauryn Hill on it. I don't know if you remember that edition. You can look it up. I'll show it, but it was a Time magazine, Lauryn Hill on the cover, and it said something like hip hop ? Like basically like, what is this? I buy it. I read the story, and you know, it was great because it's breaking down like hip hop, saying like it's the next big thing, whatever. Yeah. So you know what I did? I was like back in school. I took excerpts of photocopied it, cut it out, put it up. I did like a report. And I was like, yo, we can't change, you know, like, you know, this is our identity, then breaking down hip hop, you know. Right now we're in the infancy of hip hop culture as we know it. But KMEL here, we're on the verge of breaking something. Hey, that's me, like how many 30 years ago.
I figured you like that. I was like, well, you okay, we gonna put him up.
All right. That's me. Yeah. But I sent it to corporate. You know what happened? Oh, okay, yeah. Go ahead. You could just keep your slogan. So we didn't have to change it. But I had to fight for it. Because imagine if all of a sudden we're known KMEL, jamming the most hip hop and R&B, to then say, you know, KMEL playing today's hits and your favorite songs. You know, that would have been like, what? You know, people would have been like, yeah. But no, that's true story. I only told that story a few times, so not that many people know, but that could have been detrimental to what we were doing. So that's why we had to fight for what we were trying to do. Like we were visionaries at KMEL, like not just myself, but everybody that was part of the station. Prince Ice, you know, Swain Tech, Alex Mejia, our program directors at the time, anybody who was mixing, like we basically had the ball in our hand and we were helping it we were like the hockey puck. Like we saw like, okay, it's going here. And we were
Yeah.
part of that. So we were just like, okay, well, what we got to do to preserve this culture and build it. And I really have to say, we were a blueprint to what hip hop radio is today. Those early 90s, what we were doing at KMEL 90, we started in 88, but about around 90, 91 is when we really shifted to like really playing hip hop.
Let me ask you this. Would you say that you guys were, and if I'm wrong, I apologize. I don't want to be disrespectful because I'm in the presence of legends as far as I'm concerned. But would you say that you guys are the MTV of radio?
No, I mean, again, like we were pivotal and we were instrumental. But again, I got it. It wasn't just about KMEL. Like obviously, Hot 97 was pivotal in the East Coast.
Of course.
Like I said, some of these major areas like PGC in DC, the Box in Houston. I looked at the LA stations. So even weekly, I would look at like maybe 5 stations around the country, just see what they're playing. But it was to a point in the early years of us at KMEL, everybody, like if we put a record in, it would mean like the rest of the country would follow. So a lot of times I would take meetings with the labels, like they would fly from LA or they would fly me out and they would play me the album and then be like, hey, we're kind of, we don't know what label, what song we want to release first as a single, whatnot. So there's a few times I helped pick singles for some of these labels, for some of these albums. So it was great, and then obviously what the influence that we had on the rest of the country was great. Like I think we thrived off that because we wanted to be like the first to play it,
Pioneers, yeah.
Wow, the first to play like Maxwell, back then it was like a lot of R&B stuff, like, so hey, D'Angelo, Brown Sugar were first to play that, in the country, things like that. Like, we thrived off doing that stuff. Like, what's the next biggest thing that we can get our hands to, or to a point where like, if we believed in the record, we knew that we could break it. That's how influential KMEL was. So we would laugh and be like, we can fool our audience and just take some random song and be like, this is the next biggest thing, and they would fall for it. But it was like, but that was the mystique that we had. Just like in the 90s with Funkmaster Flex when he was doing the bombs.
Of course.
Like, all right, oh yeah, I'm feeling this, and rewind it back, throw the bomb, and then play it again, like play it 10 times in a row. Like, labels would eat that up, but then, you're in the streets, like, oh, this must be the next biggest thing. So, but that's kind of the same mystique that we had at KMEL. If we were blowing something up, or if we're playing it like not only locally, like the surrounding stations would jump on it, but then, and we have a thing called Media Base and BDS where you could see what stations are playing across the country. So it was like kind of like, oh wow, damn, wow, this record's blowing up, and it's like we were like the first, one of the first to play it, or the first, So, like I said, humbling, but again, like we were in it for the love of music. It was never about like, oh, I want to be known for like the one breaking these records or whatnot. So that was never my narrative. That was always for me was I just want to be here, play good music, DJ, and if along the way I'm a part of some history, then even better. So yeah. So like even when I talked to my manager Ty, I still trip out. Like even that we're doing an interview now today, like that you're interviewing me. Like normally I would be like, who wants to even hear what I have to say?
Everybody wants to hear what you got to say. I'm gonna interject 1,000 times out of 1,000.
No, but I never saw it like that. Like, I still trip out. Like even now, like, between Jeff and Ty, like, putting together some of these interviews, I'm like, what? Another interview? Like, but like I said, I'm just humbled. I'm just thankful. I mean, honestly, yeah, like unfortunately, like many people might not have the journey that I've got. So I just take it all in stride. And like I said, I'm blessed that my path was there and I was able to not only like do radio, but then my career at the label side. And then I'm still doing it independently now, the promotion side of my promotion company. I'm still DJing now. Like it's almost like a rebirth. I told Ty that, like me DJing now on Twitch. Like I said, like for a while I didn't DJ, so me coming back on 2015, I was DJing, but you know I'm just only recording in the studio and then giving it to the stations to play on air. But this last 2 years on Twitch, people are actually seeing me now because you know back then, like you only heard it.
Right.
Yeah, people heard the name, but they didn't realize unless you go to the club. Like I don't know if you heard of Theo that who went to LA in the Beat back in the 90s. Theo Mizar, he was at the Beat.
Okay.
You know, he blew up with his voice, but back then it was all about radio. So people didn't realize he was Asian, you know, Japanese. So then it was almost culture shock because when he got to the Beat in LA, it was like KMEL primarily African American station, their P1s. So it was almost like a ploy, like the station purposely didn't put him out in the clubs or in events because they were like, you know, people might not. So they waited like 6 months, but people were in love with his voice because he had that deep voice, and then he was like talking to like artists on air, and you got popular. So then by the time all right, let's get him popular. So by the time they brought him out, you know, I heard the story. Oh man, what? You know, and I'm like, well, hey, I went through the same thing. So, but it solidified what I always said earlier. I mean, where you're from is where you're at, and your mentality. Like for me, music is universal, so it don't matter where you're from or how you look. You could be an alien if you hear some good music.
That part.
You're right, AM South. You know, voices do matter. So Theo had that good voice. So. Yeah, and it was funny because Theo was never on air. He started as a DJ like all of us, and then eventually he just like started like picking up like weekend shows. And then when they moved him to LA, then it just really catapulted his career. And he was like one of those first big superstars like that was on radio. But then they gave him that little quick movie role, and forgot which was it still. I forgot which movie it was. But yeah, they did a little clip on the beginning with him and like in the studio. So yeah, but, like I said, I'm just humbled, man.
Well, listen, you as far as I'm concerned, you I get it, and it adds to the lore of DJ Glenn Aure. But brother, if you look at it, and we well over time, you generate like a half an hour over time. You know what I mean? But I'm not even saying it in a bad way. I'm saying it from a perspective of people need to hear this. I wasn't ready to break this up. People need to hear this in its entirety because it's true. I'm a truthful based person, and I really am into. I'm a why person. I was that kid. My mom used to slap me in the back of the head. I used to be like, well, why? And she'd be like, well, I want you to sit down. Well, why? Well, sit down because I'm telling you to. Well, why? So, you know what I mean? So with hip hop, to me, it's the whys. It's why are we where we are? Why? What makes this tick? You know what I mean? To hear your story about how you you came up, you came through the ranks, and you came and did all of this stuff. You became the program director. You became, you know what I'm saying, the program director. You came all of these things. You went to the label. You did all these things, but you broke. You set unprecedented markers everywhere you went. These are things that people need to understand, and even how it affected everybody. It's like you said, maybe not. You may not feel that all credit is due to Does It Blind, which is understandable. I totally understand that, but you guys had your fair share of influencing the culture, as they say in today, with influencers. You know what I mean? You guys were the influencers of yesterday when there wasn't no social media, quite frankly, right?
I mean, yeah, you can say again, like it was not just us, but we had a big hand of it. Like I said, I gotta give credit where credit is due. Like even the people before us. So yeah, like fortunately for me, I was in a golden era of that time, and I was able to like work with some great artists or help find some songs that really are still like classics today. So when I look back at it, like, yeah, man, like like I said, I'm just wow. Like sometimes, like I said, we're driving around, Ty and I, and we're hearing some of the old school stations that are in the Bay now, and they're playing everything that we broke in the 90s. But then basically that's the blueprint of their station. So it's kind of giggling and humbling, like, wow, they basically took what we did in KMEL and now just made a radio station out of it. So, that just solidifies, yeah, we made the blueprint for that during that era. And then now, the new flavor of the month with these iHeart stations, oh, we're going to do #1 for throwbacks and, hip hop for all these, markets. That's the new flavor now. So it just, it's good in a way because, like I said, we wouldn't be 50 years of hip hop. But like I said, started in like 72 with Cool Herc and out in the Bronx and whatnot. And then it just evolved. But I just look at it, we were all pieces of the puzzle. And the puzzle's not even finished yet. It's still pieces that's still going. Who would have known that in 2023, hip hop would be the #1 most selling genre in music?
I try to do it right. 50.
72, 2022.
50.
Yeah.
Who knew?
But that's what I'm saying. Like back then, hip hop was unheard of, or it was just like the early rock and roll. It was like taboo. So for us to come this far, and then even for myself to be like, okay, well, maybe from like 91 to like 2010, a good 20 years, I did my part to help pave the way on the radio side. Then when I got to the label side, helping break some of the artists that we had at Capitol. And then now, even from 2010, doing my independent promotion companies for some of the record labels I still do today, being a part of some of these big artists. I remember sitting down with Def Jam, with the president of Def Jam at the time, and they're like, we just signed this guy from Toronto. His name is Justin Bieber. And he was like, you think you can maybe like get him to do interviews? And at the time, I remember Power 106 was doing high school basketball charity games. And I remember like, yeah, we should get him to do that. And sure enough, young Justin Bieber doing like Power 106, celebrity basketball games.
I remember that. That's
yeah. But things like that, like how you see like these guys are bigger than life now. You know what I mean? So just again, like when I look back at him, like maybe I could write a book or something.
Write a book. get the royalties off it. I'm in all this story. I think this is an excellent story, a roadmap to the journey, the testament of hip hop, man. And it's funny because everything is circulating or circling back to the fact of hip hop is 50, and your story is in a direct conversation with that. And I literally just had to start, like literally started like this morning, and I'm at work. And DJ Prince Ice, tell me if I'm lying, I'm flying. Please comment. But literally, okay, we had a conversation, man. Hey, did you watch hip hop? Hip hop 50, John. Oh, and it's like this whole day has been hip hop is 50, and then I hear your story. I already read your story, but hear you say your story, experiencing it with you, it's a blessing. It really is, especially if you are a true fan of the culture. And if you know what I'm saying, the successes of the culture, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, and to hear everything that you put on for, I salute you. I salute all of the people that came through KMEL, like flat out. You guys are like, again, I understand there were other people that is part of the culture, but they're not on this program right now. We talk about you and the KMEL people. You guys are awesome. You guys did it for the culture. You guys are every bit a part of the success that the hip hop is today because of the work and the fearlessness to try something new, the dare to be different, as they said back in the day. The 90s and the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thankful for it, man. I want to shout out everybody that's been coming into the chat before we go into the last two questions. AM Styles was him and Ty Tiger, yes, up and down through. So shout out to AM Styles and Ty Tiger. Shout out to my brother DJ Prince Ice. shout out to Jeff Kwan for putting this whole thing together, for me to be able to meet and share your story. I am forever thankful to Jeff Kwan and his team at BTP Medium. I want to, because we are over time, and again, I try to be as respectful to people's time, because that's the one thing you can't get back in life, right?
Yeah,
and I know, especially for somebody like you, time is money. You know what I mean? So I want to leave it down to these 2 questions. Well, 3. I'm gonna throw it at 3. But before I get to those 3 questions, I want to say, make sure you like and subscribe, follow DJ Aure on all social media. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow him. Make sure you support this brother and his journey and his path. Pay homage to kings and queens that have laid before you the groundwork for you to be able to operate and function. And today, I gotta say that. Now, King, I want to ask you. I want to say this first question to you. Do you have any advice for any aspiring talent, young entrepreneurs? I mean, you've been in the game for a long time. Like I said, hip hop is 50. And I know you've been around for a good portion of that 50 years, from a lot of different vantage points, even to the point now where you spot game before game is realized. What advice do you have for young aspiring talent?
Number 1, believe in yourself. Again, it's not easy. Like breaking in radio, or like being an artist to be that superstar, is like the sports analogy. Like we can all be in one pool and we can somewhat play or sing, whatnot, but only a few make it to that next level. So don't be discouraged. But end of the day, you should be singing or making music for the love of it. Not like, oh, I want to be a star or whatever. Like, maybe it leads to that. But first and foremost, love the music first, or love your craft, whether it's singing, producing, DJing, whatever it is. And then hone your craft. Put the time and effort. Anything you do in life. If you don't put no effort in it, it ain't gonna grow. You have a plant, you don't water it, it's not gonna grow. It's gonna die. So it's the same thing. I use that same analogy with yourself. So if you have a hobby, something you like to do, and you want to take it further, then you got to put in the work. Luckily for me, I was in the right place, right time. But obviously, if I wasn't good at DJing, I wouldn't have won the DJ contest. But then from that, it catapulted to those other things. But if I was just content on I just want to be a DJ on KMEL, and I'm good with that, then I would never have graduated to like becoming a music director or then overseeing it as a program director. So put in the work. And as far as being an artist, it's a different ball game now. Before, it was about making the record and then putting it out or chasing radio. Now there's many platforms. It's not about FM. Yeah, FM radio is still going to be important, but you can blow up, as we see on different platforms. If we see artists blowing up on YouTube, Spotify, things like that. So we call them metrics. Today's metrics, that's what it's about. That's what's great about the technology and the platform now. So as we say, those are the metrics that like labels use, radio uses to like figure out, like, am I going to play this song? Because like if I'm promoting a record to radio right now from a label, they're going to be like, so what's it doing? Or what's the social media like? Oh, they got so many followers, this and that. And, sometimes it skews things and, but end of the day, that's the metrics that people are using nowadays. So you got to be a full package. It's, first and foremost, make a great product, the music. Then from there, work on building your brand. Like I said, social media, things like that. And then if you're actually selling music, then building that, we call it consumption at the label side. Consumption meaning like how many people are buying it, how many people are streaming it. And I hate to say it, like labels, sometimes they pull the plug too quickly on their signed artists because they want the quick turnaround. It's not the old times where like labels invest in the artists and, okay, we're going to roll it out for a year and, we're going to go a couple singles deep, really try to break it. Unfortunately, sometimes these labels are signing artists, we call them 360 deals. So it's basically, all right, we'll sign you, but, for one single, and we'll see what happens after that. And if, you know, maybe the record kind of blows up, but if it doesn't sell, then they're quick to pull the plug. So it kind of messes up for the artist because then they're signed and now they're kicked to the curb. But it's a hard game, and you know, you got to have strong skin. Like, it's not easy, you know, like anything in life. So if you're an aspiring artist, you know, there's going to be some ups and downs. When I was at Capitol, I saw label, you know, artists that were riding the wave, getting that money and all that, doing the radio shows, and then have a bad album, they get dropped. And then like weren't smart enough to like save their money, or they got to remember labels. If you heard of the term recoup, so artist sells 1 million records, but they don't you know, people don't realize the label put up all the money to get that on the shelves. So we as a label might have put up $1 million for that to happen. So that artist won't even see a dime until Capitol gets their $1 million back.
Yeah.
So we're just a glorified bank. And I think that's what a lot of times labels or independent artists have to look at labels like that. Yeah, you want to be signed to a major label, but is it really great? Because if you can do all that yourself as an independent, then you own all your rights, you own all your masters, you own all the money. So that's smart. I mean, we could have another interview just talking about this. But you know, I mean, yeah, I'm down to you know, give some game, but again, like with aspiring artists, it's learn. You gotta learn. Or you know, you find someone that's in the business, like myself or whoever, or who could kind of show you the ropes. Because it's not about just like I'm gonna make a record and then it's gonna blow up. Like, no. Yeah. Even when you do have a hot record, like when we were at Capitol, you know, we had Snoop Dogg and big artists. You still need the machine, Capitol, to push it along. You know,
that's the part. That's the part that people don't understand when you say music business. That's the music business part of it. And yeah, I totally respect and understand what you say with that, man. Like seriously. And thank you because and let me say this. I mean, at any point in time, you're more than welcome to come back on this. I definitely would love to have you back on this thing, especially to talk about the mechanical arms of the business, if you're willing. You know, because a lot of people don't want to divulge that type of information. But I think it's necessary for people to know just what the hell they're getting into, because it is it's a monster of an arm. If you're not familiar with the territory. But yeah, I mean, you man, you get a lot of gems on it. Hey, I got a shout out to Ty Tiger because she orders joy giving it up. Like she said, I just want to grow up to be a manager or a dope DJ. Oh wait.
Hey, didn't that dream come true?
You know, shout out. That's awesome, man.
Real quick, Ty, can you put in the chat our IG? We just launched a new IG for our entertainment page. So
okay, as soon as she puts it up, I'm gonna put it up.
That's where you can like, you know, reach us, and then like anybody like want to hit me up or like whatever. You know, it fits.
And DJ Aure, and that's literally the second of the 3 questions that I wanted to ask you is how can people learn more about you? I'll wait for Ty Tiger to put that in the chat in the comments section, which I think she just did.
She did. So that's the IG. So yeah, so we're directing people there for our entertainment page right there. So
okay,
DM us directly there. We try to post, you know, just like I said, just building the page, but like I think we were thinking like the history, like how we're talking now, like a new person that was born in 95 or 2000 won't realize that I did what I did. So it's weird. Like when we do some of these posts of these old KMEL posts or stuff that I did, or like, you know, people are just like, wow, I didn't know that, you know? So I think it's just education. So like, that's what I challenge the new generation of DJs, like, or anything in life. If you don't know, go back to the history. Doesn't mean DJ, just even music. Like I didn't, you know, I was born in 72. So growing up, like that early 70s soul stuff, I was a baby. So I didn't know that. But growing up that I love that music, I went back and found like other groups that, oh, this is a spin off of this and that, and then learning like, picking up breaks and the break beats. When I was into that stuff, then I learned about like certain artists and whatnot, or like, all right, well, this drummer played on this band, so if he's in this band, then he must be good too. So, it's just researching. So I think in anything in life, you go back if you don't know, like you can't go forward if you don't know the history. So
education itself is useless. It's how you apply the education that gives us this power. And that's a off quote from Booker T. Washington. Definitely huge for me. And we have a Booker T. Washington statue at Hampton University. And I know what that's about. But I gotta say, listen, DJ Aure, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you on. We are definitely well over time, but I am thankful that we have this extra time with you.
When having fun,
Yeah, that's what they say. But at the end of the day, it's not just fun, it's the truth. And I want to ask one last question of you. The most important question is always, how can people learn more about you? That way that they can reach out to you directly and get the information and glean what they want to glean from you. But the last question I actually have for you is, as far as who do you want to shout out? Please feel free to use this platform right now. Shout out whoever or whatever you want to shout out.
Okay. Well, first of all, let's shout out my manager, Ty Tiger. Again, like she holds me down. Without her, like I don't. Sometimes I'd be forgetting stuff. So, she's my rock. She's my best friend, manager. She does it all for me. So thank you, Ty Tiger. Jeff, BTP Media Group, also helping out, putting a lot of these interviews together. So thankful for him. Shout out like my KMEL family from the OG, the Prince Isis, the Alex Mejia, all my early KMEL folks that I worked with in the early 90s, and everybody I worked throughout my career at KMEL, and then my career at Capitol Records. And basically anybody that crossed my path. Like, again, like I'm fortunate enough to almost have like 30 years of career in the music industry. So my paths cross a lot. Some of that I don't even remember. Sometimes people are like, oh, you remember? And I mean, I don't remember it all. But again, if you pass my path and we did something, thank you for supporting me. Again, all the new people I've met like recently via Twitch, my supporters there, people like AM Styles finding me there on Twitch, and hearing, seeing them and supporting me. And one thing this weekend. So people on Twitch, I want to shout out an event that I'm doing. A good friend of mine, DJ Chris Leo. So we're doing an event for the Santa Cruz County Relief Fund. So due to the recent floods and some of the other issues in the city, we're doing a raid train, which we're going to get a bunch of DJs. It starts at 11 a.m. with one of my homies, DJ 415. But we're just going to continue 1 hour to then go to the next DJ. I'm going to spin around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But we're raising funds for the Santa Cruz Relief Fund. So just wanted to shout that out. And if you're on Twitch, just look us up. Like I said, on Twitch, I go by DJ Glenn Aure. It's in the chat right there. And if you hit us on our IG, you'll see the promotion is there as well. So I think that's it, man. I just want to shout you out too. Like I said, I'm just humbled, and like I said, it trips me out that like I'm doing interviews. I never felt that like I'm like someone that people would be interested in hearing my story and whatnot. But I love that I get to tell it. I guess.
It's a testament to the work, brother. And again, sometimes we don't understand our impact if we're leaders, and you have been a leader in the game, and you deserve the respect that's due. It's time to pay that. You know what I'm saying? Pay that respect to was respected too. You know what I mean? So I totally understand, and I love your work ethic. I love your energy, and I respect everything that it is about what it is that you put out. Again, having had on Grammix or GMS and Nastiness, and you know what I'm saying. I love my brother DJ Ice, Prince Ice, like you in the pantheon of greatness, brother. You should understand exactly just what you gave back to the culture. just because you put in the work. It's just that simple. 1 + 1 = 2. So I'm thankful to have you on my platform. I'm thankful for everything you've done for the culture. And sometimes we need to hear that. You know what I mean? And I'm glad to have connected with you. Glad to share your story. At any point in time, if you got anything new that you want to just, hey man, feel free to hit me in my inbox. Hey, look, I got this, da 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 da.
Yeah.
It's say less. It's just all about when you trying to get on, we're gonna set that up, we're gonna get that rocking. It's nothing. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for your energy. I'm thankful for all your hard work and everything and your dedication to the culture. We all
right back at you too, man. Like I said, like I know, man, we covered a lot of stuff, but there's so much that can be told. And same time, I want to do my part to help pave the way, for the next generation of artists or whatever. So if it's some game I can give or like some advice, then yeah, we can do another episode, just dealing with that stuff, for artists or whatnot. But again, thank you for having me. And yeah, it's open line of conversation. Well, just hit us up.
Absolutely, you on deck. As far as I'm concerned, hang on for an extra 2 to 3 minutes after we close up shops, just so we can wrap everything up. But you were definitely gonna be on speed dial, but you on the platform as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? I want to shout out AM Styles. I want to shout out to Ty Tiger. I want to shout out to DJ Prince Ice. I want to shout out to BTP Media, and not in that order. You know what I mean? Everybody is amazing in their own right. And thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank all of the people that has tuned in and the people that will tune in, because you guys need to understand exactly that just what hip hop is all about through people that have lived it. And having grown up through it, I'm thankful, because there's nothing like hip hop, and there will never be anything else like hip hop. And the people that laid the tracks for that, golden. That's all I got to say about it. With that being said, we are at time. I thank all of you guys for your patience and understanding, but this is not a story that I feel that it dragged out. Take it for what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had your pens and your paper out, took notes, so forth and so on. If you have any questions, feel free, follow, like, subscribe to this man right here, DJ Glenn Aure, and as well as his manager, Tiger. Make sure that you guys reach out, like, subscribe, follow on all social media. And I'm sure they will take care of you just like they took care of me tonight, to be able to tell DJ Aure's story on this platform. I'm thankful, ladies and gentlemen. Season 6, we get ready to go into season 7, and I'm looking. The future is ever so bright, and a lot more opportunities have opened up. Stay tuned for what's next. I don't even want to tell you what's coming next. Just stay tuned. I guarantee you, it's going to be epic. We are touching on a lot of different continents. Notice I say continents, not cities. You know what I mean? So pay attention. What's coming soon? Like, follow the Beat TV LA on all social media. That is the THE Beat BEAT TV LA on all social media. And Donnie B got the beats. Hello, like I'm the guy too, but you know what I'm saying? I'm not like Glenn Aure, but hey, I do my thing too. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But it's I'm saying all that to say, I'm doing it for the culture, man. And I do my best to give back, because it's necessary. Because nobody gave it to me coming up, and I just feel like this is for everybody else behind me, for me to do this and share the story and to pass the knowledge base to the people behind me. And you're hearing it from the legends themselves. So with that being said, I'm Donnie B, got the beats. I'm gonna say it again. I'm Donnie B, got the beats. We live on the beat. DJ Aure, thank you so much. Hang on for us. And we are out, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
Donnie B,